segment. Today we are focusing on the real estate sector here in the country. Joining us this afternoon is Chris Ochieng, the Chief Executive Officer of GulfCap Real Estate. Chris, good afternoon and welcome to our studios.
Good afternoon and thank you for having me here.
And maybe, Chris, give us an overview. How is the sector looking like as we speak?
Well, the real estate sector, as you know, has ripple effects across the economy. So there's been challenges in terms of pricing going up, but also there have been very good uptake in terms of residents. This is a basic need we are creating, a decency. So either real estate will always progress, maybe at a slow pace or a higher pace, but it's regularly stable.
And with the economic shocks you've just alluded to, do you have customers as we speak?
Yes, we do. We do have customers. As you know, there are different forms of owning real estate. Others are coming through mortgages, the installment payments, and right now we are interacting with government to find a way of offering a tenant purchase scheme for those who cannot afford mortgages but can afford rents to where they live.
And what is the most outstanding challenges, given that you just clearly outlined there are some challenges within the sector? So what is the significant challenge that you have at least ensured that you looked into?
The biggest challenge is usually the cost of finance during construction, the cost of inputs, and on the other side, affordability of the units in terms of how do citizens come to own their units? How do we make it affordable for them to be able to own their units?
And how have you addressed that as GulfCap?
So as GulfCap Africa, GulfCap Real Estate, we address that through, one, having several partnerships with banking institutions and financial institutions. As I mentioned earlier, also liaising with government in terms of how do we turn most mortgages into rent-to-own projects.
And of course, what are some of the benefits people have been able to witness within this sector?
If I start from the construction side, so obviously there are many jobs which are created in real estate, right? Suppliers who supply to the real estate industry. Then you get financial institutions who also plug into the real estate industry. It has a ripple effect from the developer to the mamamboga down there who supplies the sites in terms of inputs and food.
And of course, we do know the sector at least exacerbated some of the challenges, especially during the COVID-19 era. Maybe tell us, how have you picked up from that particular era? Because you see, at the end of the day, the effects of the pandemic are still being felt still today.
That's correct, and I will say government has also helped a lot in that. During the COVID era, the inputs became very expensive. Shipping and logistics became a nightmare. And of course, also on the end user, because of the halt in the economy, there are many people who could not afford to pay rentals or to buy rentals. We've worked with banks across different sectors in terms of, first, how do we issue guarantees during procurement? How do we order smartly and order in bulk in terms of inputs to local prices? How does government assist us, right, in terms of putting in guarantees to ensure the developers do not go out of pocket, but at the same time cannot afford do not develop the product in an expensive manner. And to the end user side, we've spoken to banks also. They give cushions to end users. They give cushions to people who are taking mortgages. They've assisted the rental buyers. And we've come up with frameworks on how to ensure they own real estate.
And talking about sustainable development, you do know this is the main focus of the current administration.
Correct. Also
taking into consideration what we are facing through climatic conditions at the end of the day. So what are you doing differently to ensure that the developments you're carrying out across the country are sustainable and they're complementing our environment? So
at GulfCap being the largest affordable real estate developer in Kenya, it is ingrained in us to ensure we offer sustainable communities. We are working with IFC to ensure we do EDGE-certified developments. For instance, we do things like water harvesting. We use solar power. We start from design in terms of ensuring you have natural lighting. We create an environment for end users where they are comfortable, where they don't spend a lot of money on things like power because we create natural lighting. We are an award-winning developer in Kenya. We have developed Buxton in Mombasa. We are doing Starehe Point in Nairobi, in City, and LV Marina in Kisumu.
And maybe to the Kenyans who are watching you right now, why is it important to ensure at the end of the day, these buildings you're building, not just for housing, but for the hotels or whatever you're building for, why is it important to ensure that they complement our environment?
Okay, so you see, Abdulaziz, when you buy a unit, you want to ensure we can first preserve the value of a unit. We do not want to devalue a unit. That is one sector where you need to go green and ensure the use of materials you choose are actually sustainable. Number two, you living there, we do not also want to bulk you with the burden of paying a higher service charge because you keep running your power 24/7, or you have no way of collecting surface runoff water or rainwater. We ensure all those are incorporated. Basically, in the long run, it makes the development more cheaper, and it adheres to the environmental issues that we are facing right now.
And maybe tell us, what are some of the emerging trends within the sector and how have you coped with them?
So you'll find emerging trends in the sector is basically on what different sectors we play. We are a mixed-use developer. We cater for different sectors across the real estate. We look at commercial, hospitality, retail, and most importantly, our focus is on residential. We put a lot of focus on affordable residential. Following the Vision 2030 laid, or rather the vision of the government to provide affordable housing, we ensure we have streamlined the process. We've paid our school fees in Buxton, and we have a formula now where we can develop units at a cheaper price, right? Quality, and ensure when you're living there, the life of the project, you usually pay very little in terms of service charge.
And maybe tell us, what are some of the gaps that also you have witnessed during the tenure you have run that particular company or supervising that particular company? What are some of these gaps you have been able to see, and how have you plugged them?
So some of the gaps we saw is people had a notion that affordable housing is basically houses that are designed poorly or houses that are meant for the poor people. But for us, we've looked at it and ensured where I live, anybody can live. We have developed it. We have developed our developments in terms of looking at the lifestyle and decency of that development. What do I mean by that? If you look at Buxton, for example, affordable housing development, the people living there can access clubs. They can access amenities like swimming pools. They can access, giving them a decent lifestyle without creating something or the notion that this is cheap. Hence, affordable means cheap. Affordable means decency. And there are very many ways to tackle it in terms of how you finance it, how you develop it, how you procure it, how you bring the woven fabric together.
And also, given that we're coming to an end of this particular interview, maybe tell us, what are some of the recommendations you're making, especially to the Ministry of Lands and Affordable Housing that is also carrying out a similar project? How can they better your work so that you can complement even the programs that the government is undertaking?
So for the ministry, they've really been supportive. But the issue where we are still tackling and trying to interrogate and come with is the home ownership. And I'd like to give a practical example for that. You see, there are very many Kenyans who are paying rent out here. They've been paying rent for years, right? They have not had an issue in paying rent, but they have an issue in how they are qualified by banks to own houses, where you are told, Abdulaziz, you have to bring a pay slip, you have to pay a deposit of this. We are working closely with them to ensure it is actually affordable. 1,000 may seem affordable, but it may be unaffordable to somebody else. So it is, how do we create a mechanism to ensure home ownership, right, is easier for the common mwananchi.
And we have to talk about the comrades, given that you do know that even university students are watching us right now and are studying to become or work in that particular sector. So are there jobs at the end of the day as you make your final remarks?
Yes, real estate will always has jobs. If you look at the different construction trades, around 17 to 20 of different construction trades. We've not even gone to the build form professionals in terms of the consultancies. You have your engineers, your QSs, your MEPs, etc. And the ripple effect it causes throughout. So real estate, housing is usually a big job driver in the economy.
Thank you for making time for us, Chris Ochieng. Thank you so much. That is Chris Ochieng, the Chief Executive Officer of GulfCap Real Estate. You just heard the status update of how the sector is looking, of course, from the economic shocks that are being experienced in the country and how they are at least addressing some of those rising challenges within that particular sector.